Hello, everybody. This is Paula Pagan. I'm the owner of Long Island Elder Care, and we're going to be talking today about providing care, the entitlement and community resources that are available to your clients, and it's that we will be including 2020 updates on this presentation. So hopefully you'll enjoy it. Okay, we're going to first talk about Medicare and what benefits that somebody's eligible for under Medicare, and the differences of what Medicare provides and what Medicaid provides. So all persons 65 years or over who are not working, and some people under 65 who are disabled for 2 years or more. And also for you to know that some people that are under 65 that are disabled may be able to get benefits sooner than 2 years if they have ALS or renal failure, and there may be some other chronic illnesses that might be under that umbrella. So I recommend that you contact your local office to discuss what is beneficial for you before your 65th birthday or when you become disabled and you're under 65 years old. There are two parts to Medicare. There is Part A and Part B, and we're going to discuss what each part provides you with. So Part A covers the cost of inpatient hospital care. It also covers totally 100% the first 20 days for rehabilitation services after a hospital stay. And the rehabilitation services are in a nursing home facility. And for certified home health care services that's provided to you in your home, either after a hospitalization or a nursing home stay in a rehabilitation program, or if you have an acute medical condition that needs nursing care for a short-term basis, you may be eligible for certified home health care services. Okay. Part B helps pay for medical necessity physician services and other medical services as well. So it covers physical therapy, it covers homebound counseling, which we provide at Long Island Elder Care. It provides in-office mental health services. There is a yearly deductible, and this year for 2020, the deductible is $198. Medicare Part B usually pays for 80% of the services rendered. Okay, so many people decide to get a supplemental plan to cover what Medicare does not cover. So it can cover the deductible, okay, which is the $198 per year that you have to pay. It depends on the supplement. It also can pay for extended stays at a rehabilitation center over the first 20 days. So it may pay for the 20% that is needed for the remaining days after the first 20 in a rehabilitation center. And it also may cover the 20% that is not covered for doctor visits. So for many people, because Medicare does not pay for long-term home health aid services or for people who have chronic illness that need services for an indefinite period of time, Medicaid becomes an option for them. Now, understand that Medicaid is always the last payer source. Medicaid wants you first to see what is provided under your Medicare benefit, then second under your supplemental plan, and then Medicaid becomes your last payer source. Medicaid in the United States is a social health care program for families and individuals with limited resources. Medicaid is the largest source of funding for medical and health-related services for people with low income in the United States. It is means-tested program, and it's jointly funded by state and federal government, and it's managed by the states, with each state currently having broad leeway to determine who is eligible for its implementation of the program. So it's very important to remember that each state manages the Medicaid plan differently, and the benefits are different as well as the services covered. So it's very important to really check with that state, either through an elder care attorney or through a discharge planner in a hospital, to see what services a client's family member can get in different states, because there is a broad difference between one state to the other. Okay, there are two types of Medicaid. There are community Medicaid, which provides in-home services for people, and it's also Medicaid has approved some assisted living programs to pay for that type of setting under the community Medicaid. And chronic care Medicaid is for people who need nursing home placement and is used only for nursing home placement. Now, it's important to understand that the rules for community Medicaid are very different than the rules for chronic care Medicaid. So it's important for your family members to educate themselves as to what the rules are for each of these programs. Okay, so here is the Community Medicaid 2020 updates for you to review. Okay, so it's important to review these updates. A single person can have $8.95 per month. A single person can have $15,750 in resources. And it's very important to understand that a resource counts any money in your checking account, savings account, any kind of investment accounts, any kind of bonds that you might have, or other kind of resources. And very importantly, which people do forget to count, is cash value on life insurance policy. So that all goes under the umbrella of resources. And if you are above the resource level at the end of the month prior to the Medicaid pickup month, you will be ineligible for services. So it's very important to tell your family members to go by this guideline and know that they have to meet this guideline in order to receive Medicaid services. The next area is telling you about the regional rates that are paid for by Medicaid to a nursing facility. The other one, and we're going to be talking more about the community spouse allowance, gives you the figures for community spouse allowance. And then the 2020 homestead exemption is listed here as well. So if you have any questions at any time, we have this on our Long Island Elder Care stationery. You could always call the office at 631-320-1070. The most important thing is to educate your families that there may be resources available to them, and there are people out there that can help them, educate them as to what is available, so when they need it, they can get access to the services that they need. So let's talk about what you can get under Community Medicaid. There are no transfer penalties. So if money is transferred from one spouse to the other, there is no transfer penalty. And if you transfer to somebody else, you're eligible the following month. Okay? Resources need to be under the Medicaid resource level the month prior to applying. So by March 31st, the person would have to be at the resource level that is listed on the last slide in order for them to get Medicaid pending services the following month. Services offered under Community Medicaid is a managed long-term care program, some assisted living programs that accept Community Medicaid, and you can get extra help with medication copays. Okay, we're going to talk a little bit about spousal refusal. So, federal Medicaid law states that the community spouse can keep all the assets by simply refusing to support the institutional spouse or community Medicaid spouse. Under the law, if a spouse refuses to contribute his or her income or resources towards the cost of care of a Medicaid applicant, the Medicaid agency is required to determine the eligibility of the nursing home spouse or the community Medicaid spouse solely on the applicant's income plus resources. Okay, so it's very important to know that there's a letter that has to be signed by the well spouse stating that they refuse to pay for the medical care of the spouse that needs community Medicaid or institutional chronic care Medicaid. After awarding Medicaid benefits to the institutional spouse or community Medicaid spouse, the Medicaid agency then has the option of beginning a legal proceeding to force the community spouse to support the institutional spouse. However, this is not always done. But it is important to let your family members know that this could be something that could happen. So it's important for them to be aware of the different options that are available to them. Okay, just for you to know, a recent update about spousal refusal, just so everybody is educated and knows, that Governor Cuomo has proposed in the budget this year to eliminate spousal refusal law. It's important to take action with your local politicians to voice your concerns about the elimination of this program. Okay, another program under Medicaid is called the Spousal Impoverishment Program. New York will apply Medicaid spousal impoverishment budgeting for home care under the Managed Long-Term Care Program. This program used to be used for the Lombardi or the Long-Term Home Health Care Program, and then what happened is they transferred it over to the Managed Long-Term Care Program. So New York laws on spousal impoverishment budgeting in New York Social Service Law 366-C 2A was amended in 2013 to include, for the purposes of budgeting under the definition an institutional spouse, a person who is receiving care services and supplies under the Managed Long-Term Care Program. Spousal impoverishment can also be used for nursing home placement. Okay. So when you're talking about a Medicaid overage spend down, one of the things you need to know is that when you look at the gross income of somebody, if they're paying for a supplemental medical insurance plan, that can be deducted off of their income. You can also establish a pooled income trust to shelter the excess income to pay for non-medical expenses. And we're going to spend a lot of time talking about pooled income trusts. So what do you need to know about a pooled income trust? A pooled trust is a special type of trust that allows individuals to become financially eligible for Medicaid benefits while preserving their resources in trust for supplemental needs. The beneficiaries can receive the Medicaid benefits that meet their medical needs while maintaining a supplemental fund that is available to meet their special or non-medical needs that are not provided by Medicaid benefits. Not every state has a pooled income trust, and we're very fortunate that New York is one of the states that does allow for pooled income trusts. So New York is unique in that the state recognizes that the figure 879 is a little low. It's a little higher now. It's like 895 for a one-person household. Will not go very far in terms of covering one's living expenses, and allows those with surplus income to create a pooled income trust. Once established, a Medicaid recipient can deposit monthly income in excess of the allowed I think it's 895 this year, into the trust, and then submit living expenses to the trust for payment. The trust will then pay non-medical bills monthly. So who could benefit from a pooled trust? The following list provides examples of individuals who can benefit from joining a pooled income trust. So recipients of personal injury settlements who need to apply for or protect government benefits, and also elderly persons who have become infirm and are living at home. So in most cases, there is an initial setup fee for these trusts between $250 and $300 per initial fee, and some require that you leave 1 month of security before taking money out, and some don't require any security deposit at all. And if the beneficiary dies, any money left in the account will be turned over to the nonprofit organization, because all the pooled income trusts are nonprofit organizations when he or she dies, and their heirs will not inherit them. Now, most of the pooled income trusts have a certain way of, when somebody dies, they might give you some period to submit more bills until you've used up the trust or some of the trust. Or if you have to go into a nursing home, some of them also give you so many weeks afterwards to submit bills on behalf of your loved one in order to spend down some of that trust. So you have to check with each individual pool trust company to see what their rules and regulations are about somebody going into a nursing home or upon death of the pool trust recipient. There is a monthly fee to maintain the trust depending on how much is deposited. So the more you're depositing into the pool trust on a monthly basis, the higher the administrative fee. Okay, so what does the pool trust cover? What items? So living expenses, including clothing, food, and shelter. Housing costs such as utilities, rent, or real estate taxes. However, all of those bills have to be in the pool trust recipient's name in order to have the pool trust pay for these bills. Private pay. So let's say the managed long-term care program only gave your loved one 5 hours a day, but you need 10 hours a day. You can private pay an aide to come in and care for your loved one, but you would then have to, there's certain paperwork that would have to be submitted in order for that person to get reimbursed for that. Companion care services can be covered by the pool trust. Case management, if you need a social worker or another professional to come in and provide case management, the bill can be submitted into the pool trust company. entertainment and travel expenses for the pool trust person alone, not for anybody else. For attorney and guardian fees, and any other expenses not provided by the government assistance program. So if it's a program that is being paid for by Medicaid, then obviously you cannot use the pooled income trust program for that. Now, also in your packet, I gave you a list of various pool trust companies. So please call to check that which ones are still around and which aren't, because I don't think they update that site very often. But I try to give you the most comprehensive list of various pool trust companies in the New York State area. So how do I set up a pool trust? Okay, setting up a recognized and accredited pool trust company involves submitting a completed and properly signed pooled income trust application to a non-profit organization participating in this program. And once approved, the approval needs to be submitted to the local Medicaid office. So the local Medicaid office needs to recognize that pooled income trust, and this way they can acknowledge that you have set one up and that you're submitting your excess income into that trust to shelter it from Medicaid. So you calculate the gross monthly income and deduct any monthly medical bills, i.e. supplemental medical plan. You take total and deduct the Medicaid monthly allowance for one, which is $8.95 per month, and the remaining excess income needs to be funded into the pool trust on a monthly basis. Some people do direct deposit if the pool trust company allows you to do that. Some people write a check every month from the pool trust recipient's account in order to get that, to pay it on a monthly basis. The first initial payment to the pool trust company with the full amount needed needs to be submitted to Medicaid so they can acknowledge that you are funding this pooled income trust on a monthly basis, and this way you will not have to pay the excess income either to Medicaid or to the managed long-term care program. So to establish an account for a trust, you have to complete a joinder agreement and additional paperwork required. Each initial fee is different depending on what not-for-profit agency you contract, so you have to pay the initial fee as well. To request for disbursement, you have to request it in writing. Some of them have some kind of system set up, but you have to give them bills that are not paid for to the electric company, to if you're paying for food through a charge card, you have to submit the charge card. The charge card has to be in the pool trust recipient's name, and then you will have to send a readout of whatever you're charging on that charge card in order to have pool trust pay for it. They will not pay for anything other than what the pool trust recipient is buying. They will not pay for other people's things in the family as well. It's got to be consistent with federal statute. The sub-trust account terminate upon the death of the beneficiary, and all funds remaining in the separate trust sub-account shall remain in the trust to further its purposes, or some of them have a way, a certain limited time that you can send more bills in prior to it closing. For many, the pool trust will help people remain in their home, which is very, very important, with care and not to have to move to a facility. Now, we are going to talk about assisted living facilities, and there are some assisted living facilities that also allow you to have a pool trust along with being in the assisted living program. They will be able to use their excess resources to pay their household expenses. Okay, so now we've talked about Medicare and the difference between Medicare and Medicaid. We've talked a little bit about the services that are under Medicaid, and now we're going to talk about, so we've submitted the pool trust, we've submitted the paperwork to Medicaid, and now the next step in the process is applying to Maximus for review. So I gave everybody in their packet Maximus's phone number to call to set up an in-home evaluation. So in accordance with the New York State Special Terms and Conditions, the state was required to develop an independent and conflict-free long-term care services and support evaluation process. Because what happened before Maximus is that the managed long-term care programs were doing their own evaluations, and New York State felt that it wasn't conflict-free, and that they needed somebody who really was not going to be providing the services to come in and evaluate for the services. So effective October 2014, the state implemented a conflict-free evaluation and enrollment center for individuals seeking community-based long-term care services. So Maximus is a conflict-free evaluation. It needs to be completed prior to choosing a managed long-term care program. After the evaluation has been completed and approved, the individual can enroll in a managed long-term care program. The evaluation takes approximately 3 hours. The nurse will come in from Maximus and do the evaluation, and these are some of the things they need handy right in front of them when they come in to do the evaluation. They need all the bottles of medication to be in front of them. They need a photo ID of the pending Medicaid recipient, even if it is expired. They need all medical insurance cards, and we do the Maximus review many times, even if the Medicaid is pending. But the very thing you have to be very careful of, the Maximus review is only good for so many days. So you want to make sure that everything is all in a row, that you're going to get the Medicaid approval in a timely way, and you're going to be able to set all this up in a timely way. So you don't want to do the Maximus review too early, so you have to time everything pretty well. They need all the medical insurances that they have, names of doctors who care for the patient, and it's important to have the list of medical diagnoses right at your fingertips so you could share that information with the Maximus review person. Okay, after the Maximus review is done, they do an assessment, and that assessment is given over to the managed long-term care program. So they have the assessment from Maximus. They know what the score is on their evaluation tool, and then they do their own evaluation of the client, determining more things. So one thing is that managed long-term care is a system that streamlines the delivery of long-term services to people who are chronically ill or disabled and who wish to stay in their home and communities. Okay, some of the services offered under the managed long-term care program is case management, and the case management is not usually done in the home. It's usually done by an office. So it's either a nurse or a social worker that's a case manager that will keep in touch with the person on their program, the managed long-term care participant, and they will order supplies. Medicaid will pay for chucks. They'll pay for a generic version of Depends, and there might be some other things that they pay for. If you need a wheelchair, usually they have to go through Medicare first before you can go through Medicaid for those type of supplies. They provide nursing, home health aid, physical therapy, occupational therapy, speech therapy. They provide medical social work. not for counseling or psychotherapy, more for resources and assistance. Adult day health care, personal care, durable medical equipment and supplies, prosthetics and orthotics, the personal emergency response system for people that are cognitively able to manage that type of system, non-emergent transportation. So if you have an emergency and need rapid medical care, then you need to go by ambulance to the hospital and you have to call 911. But if you need to go to the doctor's appointment, Medicaid will provide transportation to and from the doctor's appointment. They also have podiatry and they have dentistry. They also have optometry and eyeglasses, audiology hearing aids, social daycare, and social supports and modifications to the home. Now, just understand that when you sign up with a managed long-term care program, and I did give you a list of the managed long-term programs in New York State, but again, some have stayed in, some have gone out. You need to call each individual one to see who services your community. But they will give you, if once you sign up with them, they will give you a folder of all the various services they provide and who is providing it. So let's say for optometry eyeglasses, they may have a contract with some doctors who provide that. For audiology, so for each thing they are signed up with certain programs. It's also very important to know, like if you like a particular daycare program, which we'll be talking about soon, or you like a certain license agency that you work with, you have to match that license agency with the managed long-term care program. You cannot use anyone for everyone. So if you like a certain daycare and you want your client to go there, you have to make sure they have a contract with which MLTC program and only sign them up with that particular type of managed long-term care program. So a nurse will come into the home to evaluate the recipient. The evaluation usually takes 2 hours. They fully explore the recipient's needs and they review the assessment done by the Maximus nurse. Please have available, again, medications, picture ID, medical insurance cards. By then, many MLTC programs will not come in until the Medicaid has been approved and you have a Medicaid number already in place. The doctor's names, addresses, and telephone numbers. And of course, also to have medical diagnoses that you can also substantiate to them. It's helpful if you have a medical report from your doctor to substantiate the needs for the services that you're requesting. And after the evaluation is done by the nurse usually discusses the assessment with their supervisor and determines how many hours they will provide the recipient with for the week. So usually they're approving weekly rate of like 42 hours, 36 hours, and then the way you divide them up based on the client's needs is usually done between you and the license agency or whoever's going to be providing the care. So it's important to let the nurse know if you want other services during that initial assessment, such as a medical program or social daycare program, because they have to work that into the budget, or the CDPAP program, which we will be talking more about in a few minutes. If you want the CDPAP program, the MLTC nurse will give you a list of agencies they use to process that service. Okay, so we're now going to talk about the CDPAP program, which is the Consumer Directed Personal Assistance Program. Okay, I've used this program for many, many years. It's become very popular in the last couple of years, and you'll see many advertisements in the on TV about this program. So this Medicaid program provides services to the chronically ill or physically disabled individuals who have a medical need for help with activities of daily living, which is called ADLs, or skilled nursing services. Services can include any of the services provided by a personal care aide, or a home attendant, home health aide, or nurse. Recipients have flexible and freedom in choosing their caregivers. So you can choose who you want as your caregiver, and you would need to make sure that your caregiver is available and willing to be paid on the books. They will have to register at a certain agency that provides CDPAP services and is also works with the MLTC program that you've chosen for your client. Okay, and so you need to have, I recommend 2 to 3 people that will provide services, because if somebody calls in sick or cannot come, you cannot then rely on the licensed agency to provide that service for your client. So you really want to make sure you have enough people available to provide that services, to your loved one or to your client, so you're not without any services at all. Okay, so now we're going to talk a little bit about social daycare programs. It's a structured program for the frail elderly, those diagnosed with a form of dementia, or someone who needs more attention than a regular senior citizen program. And the service can be provided up to 6 days a week, depending on the location of the program that you're picking. You need to enroll in a managed long-term care program. And again, that managed long-term care program has to be affiliated with the social daycare program that you've chosen, and they have to be eligible to be covered under community Medicaid. And what's very good is that transportation is provided for the participant to and from this program. So you don't have to drive the participant. Medicaid will pay for the participant to go to a program. They provide structure, which is very important with people with some form of dementia. They provide usually some kind of light breakfast and good, a nice decent lunch. The person comes home usually around 3:30 in the afternoon. And so it gives people a purpose, and it also gives them an activity. It gives them a reason to get dressed. There's less sleeping during the day because they're active. Even if they're not participating, they're observing in a program. So it's a wonderful method of having somebody go and have a program during the day, be able to come home at night, and be able to have this service paid for by community Medicaid. Okay, medical daycare, and they're very strict about that. There has to be some kind of medical need in order to use this program rather than a social daycare program. So it's funded by Medicaid. It also can be paid for privately. Sometimes long-term insurances do pay for social and medical daycare program. You would have to have your clients look over their long-term insurance and see if it's something that is, covered by their insurance. Okay, the services vary depending on the program, and usually includes a client attending a program consistently on certain days, and transportation is provided to and from the program. Services that can be provided is nursing. And so the nurse can dispense medication, but usually we require that you give them the pill box. They can't just take individual pills and provide it to the patient. Dietitian is available there. A physician many times is. Speech therapy, occupational therapy, physical therapy, which is really good for people who are deconditioned, and Medicare has very strict guidelines of who can have it and for what duration. Under Medicaid, it can be a consistent physical therapy that's provided, recreational therapy, audiology, podiatry, ophthalmology, and social work services. And one thing we didn't include, which is really nice, is a beautician or a barber to cut, a participant's hair in the place that they can get all those services right at the medical daycare program. These services vary on location and are evaluated individual for each client attending their program. But again, it provides people with structure, it provides people with a purpose, gives somebody a reason to get up in the morning, get dressed, and get out. You don't have to, I mean, sometimes they might cancel because of, heavy snow or whatever, but usually these programs are open and you don't have to worry about a home health aide calling in sick or whatever. So usually the managed long-term care programs will not pay for this as a daily activity, but they may pay for it a couple of days a week. Okay, another program under Medicaid is called the Nursing Home Transition and Diversion Waiver Program. And this program is an alternative to the MLTC program. And this program is a cost-effective alternative to a nursing home. It allows the participant to live in a least restrictive setting and receive services in their home or community. So the labels of their services are different than a managed long-term care program. The services are independent. You have a service coordinator, independent living skills training, a home and community support services. You get structured day programs and social model daycare, positive behavioral intervention, environmental modifications, assistive technology community integration counseling, and you must have active Medicaid in order to be eligible for that service. You must meet nursing home level of care, and you must choose to live in the community rather than a nursing facility. So if any of your clients are interested in this program as an alternative, you would contact Silo for more information, and their number is 631 320 1662. So before we go to the next slide, there's one more thing that I want to tell you about managed long-term care program. In the past, I have done Medicaids for people who their loved one was already in critical condition. So they started the community Medicaid with me, and then unbeknownst to me, they had set up hospice. And then they wanted me to set up the managed long-term care program. So very important to understand these rules. If you're on hospice, you cannot also go on an MLTC program after you've already secured hospice. If you go on an MLTC program first, then you can also receive hospice services. It's a rule, and I just wanted you to be aware of it. If you're on hospice already, you can possibly get additional hours for people, but it's not going to be as thorough or as comprehensive as if you had a managed long-term care program. So my suggestion, which I have told people now as part of my intake when I'm doing a Medicaid for somebody, is to say, please, let's get the MLTC program in first. And then there are so many benefits to being on hospice, and they provide things that the MLTC doesn't provide, then to go on the go on the hospice program, afterwards, and then you'll have the benefit of both of these programs at the same time. Okay, so for some people, because this process is very convoluted now, And if you don't have, so in other words, let's say you get a Medicaid approval and now you have somebody that's being evaluated by Maximus and you might have to wait a week or so for that. And then you have to wait for the managed long-term care program evaluation, and they may be inundated and can't do it right away. Sometimes people linger past the deadline. So the deadline for submission for the managed long-term care program is by the 20th of the month. So let's say you don't get the approval from the MLTC to the 21st of the month, then you can't start the following month. You have to start the month after. So I'm going to give you an example. If somebody's approved on March 21st, they cannot start the program April 1st. They would have to wait all the way to May 1st. So sometimes there's a lag in these services being offered. So I just wanted you all to be aware of the emergency assistance program that is offered under Medicaid if you need it. So if you need urgent assistance for your client and their Medicaid application has been submitted for review, so all the paperwork has to already be into Medicaid for review, then you can set emergency assistance up while you're awaiting the managed long-term care program to start. So there is a physician's report that needs to be totally completed and an attestation form signed by the client or their power of attorney. So I didn't include these forms. If you need them, you could call the office and we'll see if we can get one to you. Our number is 631-320-1070, or we'll direct you how to get it on the internet. The most important thing about the physician report, it has to be completely filled out. So it's important to let the doctor know that if something's not applicable, to indicate that, because they will shoot the form back to the doctor. It will delay the process if it's not filled out completely. The second thing you need to know about the physician's report, that it has to be done within 30 days of requesting this emergency assistance. So you want to time it really well. If you have it done too soon or it's a day or two over the limit, they will not come out and do an evaluation. So those are just some of the tricks of the trade that I wanted you to be aware of. Okay, an RN from the Personal Care Aid Program, once these forms are submitted to Department of Social Services, will come to the client's home to complete an evaluation. They will approve hours and give you a list of providers who have been approved by DSS to provide these hours. The thing that's hard is that if the license agencies are saturated with people, sometimes they don't have anyone that can come in, but sometimes you can get somebody to come in. And what you want to do is match everything. So let's say you have an agency that has accepted your hours, that's going to provide you with services. Try to use a managed long-term care program that is affiliated with that licensed agency, because this way you can have continuity of services for your client. You could also use the CDPAP program. So if you have somebody lined up for the CDPAP program that you're going to use on the MLTC program, you could also see if Medicaid will approve that CDPAP person to provide care while you're waiting for the MLTC program to start. Okay, the Emergency Personal Care Aid Assistance will provide services to your client while you're waiting for the Managed Long-Term Care Program to come in and provide services. So it's another alternative for people while they're waiting to get the assistance that they so desperately need. Okay, so the last thing that I want to talk about under the Medicaid programs is some of the assisted living programs. They're called ALPS, that do provide services under Medicaid. So serves persons who are medically eligible for nursing home placement, but serves them in a less medically intensive, lower cost setting. Understand that you need to check with each assisted living program of what they can and cannot do. There's certainly some services that a nursing home provides that an ALP cannot provide. You also need to check if they have a nurse around the clock, or do they only have one sometime during the day. If somebody is on insulin for diabetes, can they self-induce inject their insulin? Do they need their blood sugars taken? Can they take them themselves? So there's a lot of consideration when you're looking at these ALPs to see if they can accommodate the needs of your clients. Okay, an ALP provides personal care, room, board, housekeeping, supervision, home health aides, personal emergency response services, nursing, physical therapy, occupational therapy, speech therapy, medical supplies and equipment, adult day health, and a range of home health services, and the case management from a registered professional nurse. And they have case managers also at ALPS that could be social workers as well. How do I find the services of the assisted living program? Private payers and Medicaid recipients may contact the ALP directly. And I'm going to give you some of the names. They're not all the Medicaid ones, but some of them. However, Medicaid recipients must have their ALP services approved in advance by the local services district. And usually the ALPS will know what the procedure is and how to do that. So you don't have to worry about, contacting Medicaid directly, but the ALPS would know how to get that approved by the services to be paid for by community Medicaid. Okay, so one of the newer ones is Amber Court Assisted Living in Smithtown. They're located at 130 Lake Avenue in Nesconset, New York. Their phone number is 631 636 0620. Now, I have seen people in Amber Court. They do provide, homebound psychotherapy in the facility. They have their providers. We go in and see people that we've seen in the past that were having adjustment problems when they moved, and we're continuing to see them there. They provide physical therapy there. They provide all the different therapies. They have a structured day program there where you can have activities. They do take them out on trips. They have a really nice setup there because they have under Medicaid. Medicaid will pay for someone to share a room with somebody else, and that's Medicaid will pay for that. For a cost to you, they have a friendship suite, which is really nice because what I like about this particular Amber Court is that you have your own room and you have your own bathroom, which is really nice. And then you just share a common area where I think you have a refrigerator. I'm not sure if you have a microwave, but I know you have a refrigerator there. And you have a common door to get in and out of your suite. But your room is private and your bathroom is private. And that is a cost to you. And with Amber Court, you can do a pool trust. So if there is excess money, you could use it to pay for that a special upgrade. And they also have individual rooms with with bathrooms. Now I don't know what's available now because it's very popular. When they were filling up, there were a lot of different rooms available, and now there might not be as many. I also recommend for people if they can go into one of these facilities before they're totally on the Medicaid level, if they can go in private pay and then be grandfathered in, it probably would be easier to get in than waiting until they're desperate and they can't stay in the facility that they're in anymore. And now they're trying to get in and there might not be a bed available and they might have to wait. There is another Amber Court that is older, but it's still lovely. I've been there myself, and it's in Westbury. It's at 3400 Brush Hollow Road in Westbury. Their phone number is 516 334 3838. And they have different various rooms. So it's good to shop around and see where you feel your client would be best suited with the population that's there. They all have structured activities. They provide 3 meals a day. They provide cleaning services in each room. They do your wash for you. They provide medical care where they usually have doctors that come right into the facility to see you if you want, or you could go out to your own doctor if your family members want to take you there. So there's a plethora of services that you can get in an assisted living program. Another one is Woodhaven Adult Home at 1350 Route 112. That's located in Port Jefferson Station, New York. And they have an older facility, and they provide services also under the Medicaid benefit. I don't know what the waiting list is. I don't know if they have individual rooms. The only people I've ever seen at Woodhaven shared a room. There was 2 people in a room. And then we have Braymore Assisted Living. They used to be called Medford at Hamlet. They're at 1529 North Ocean Avenue in Medford, and their phone number is 631 289 0600. I haven't been there in a long time, but I know their friendship suite is a little different, where each person in the friendship suite there um, they um, they have their own room, but they share a bathroom, but they have their own private room. And then you also Medicaid pays for a shared room. If you want their friendships room, you have to pay extra. And then of course, if you want your own room completely, you would need to pay for that. And then you would have, of course, your own bathroom. Okay. Also going back to the assisted living program, I think Long Beach just opened one that's Medicaid approved. So you could check with your local social service office as to which assisted living programs are covered. We didn't want to list all of them, but we listed at least, some of them that are available to your clients. Okay, in case you don't know about it, there are homebound doctors that come in and provide services at home. Usually the doctor comes in and does the initial assessment, and then after that a nurse practitioner or a physician assistant comes in on a regular basis to meet the medical needs of your clients. They complete medical paperwork as needed, and most assurances allow these services for reimbursement. So it's very important to know because some people really have no way to get to the doctor's office, and it's a great way to be able to use that service and not have to take your loved one to the doctor. Okay, so Suffolk County Department of Aging has a lot of services. I give their number out at least 2 to 3 times a week. It's very important to let people know that there are services out there. They have they have like subsidized housing lists, they have Meals on Wheels programs, they have senior citizens program, transportation programs, yada, yada, yada. So the Suffolk County Office for the Aging is the designated area agency on aging under the Older American Act. And for over 40 years, Suffolk County Office for the Aging has administered federal, state, and county programs for persons 60 years of age and older. So their main number is 631 853 8200. And they have an office also in Riverhead, and their number there is 631 852 1420. Now, one of the programs that's really phenomenal under the Department of Aging is called the ISIP program. It's a long name. It's called Expanded In-Home Service for Elderly Persons. So Suffolk County Office of the Aging provides in-home care through 2 programs, the Expanded In-Home Service for the Elderly program and the Family Caregiver Support program. Case managers visit the home and complete a detailed assessment of the individual's functional impairments, unmet needs, informal support services, and finances in order to formulate a written care plan. Both programs have eligibility requirements and a waiting list, unfortunately. But if you don't ever go on the waiting list, you're never going to be able to receive the service. So please contact SCOFA at 631 853 8200 if you feel you or your loved one is in need of this type of assistance. And it's really great for people. They also have, many other kinds of services that are available through the town. So it's very important to know what those services are, what's free, what might be low cost, to really give our elderly population some choices and options in the community. And then, of course, SCAT it's a Suffolk County Authority Transportation. And this program is for handicapped adults, permanently or temporarily, who need transportation in Suffolk County. Now, this transportation service is used by people that are handicapped that need to go to work. If you need to go anywhere in Suffolk County, let's say I want to visit a relative in another part of Suffolk County, I can use the SCAT transportation. You have to fill out an application, and the application is in you could look it up online. The application used to be able to be done by social workers, but they felt that the social workers were too lenient with giving people permission to use SCAT that maybe didn't need it. So now it has to be completed by a medical doctor, and then a picture ID plus the application has to be sent in to Suffolk County for approval, and then your client will get an ID saying they could utilize the service. They have to call a certain number. They have to give so many days notice in order to get this service, and then the transportation will pick them curbside. They don't come to the house or come in your driveway. They'll pick them up curbside. As you can see from the picture here, they can take people in wheelchairs as well as people who have walkers and other devices. And then they will take you to your destination, leave you there, and then you will call back at a certain time when you need to be picked up. Okay, so any questions that you might have for us, anything we could do to help you in any way, please feel free to give us a call at 631 320 1070. In your packet, you're going to see that there is an evaluation form as well as a test. So I would really appreciate it. We'll need all the tests back as well as the evaluations in order to provide you with a certificate, because we have to keep records of everything in order to submit this to the higher education if they ever ask for it. We will also need your name, your address, where your license goes to, and your license number, so we can issue you this certificate for this presentation. We plan on putting 4 other presentations onto the onto this site. So please let us know if it's working for you, if there's anything we should change, because this is a very new venue for me to do, and I want to make sure that I'm providing you with the best service possible. Okay? Thank you and have a lovely day today.